What up, Ivy in the building, and we back for another video. Now I'm back with a unique video that I haven't done on my channel like ever. This is the first of its kind. It's gonna be like a tier ranking system. You've probably seen them on YouTube before. I'm doing it for NBA teams based off of their NBA title chances and aspirations, based off of how realistic a team winning this year's NBA championship, how realistic their odds are. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be like a really scripted video. It's going to be pretty lenient, non-formal. Is that a word? I don't know. But yeah, I don't want it to be a long video either. I want it to be less than 20 minutes, but sometimes I go off on a tangent and start talking way too much like I am right now. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So we're on Tier Maker. I just googled NBA teams because I could have made my own one with like the title NBA 2020 championship chances or something like that, but I would have to add each and every logo, and I'm just a bit too lazy to do that right now. So just imagine this said NBA 2020 title chances or something like that. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers. I think S tier I want to be like realistic NBA title favorites. A tier, teams that can likely sneak into the NBA finals and cause an upset in the conference championship. B tier, teams that would be kind of dangerous teams to see in the playoffs, like in the first or second round if you are a favorite. C tier, teams that are just lucky to be in the bubble, to be honest. And D tier, teams that aren't in the bubble. So I know there are 8 non-bubble teams. So we have, let me just see if I can get them off the top of my head. I already saw like 3 of them, so they're not really going to be off the top of my head. But Knicks, obviously, garbage fire of a franchise right now. Timberwolves, the Wizards actually are here, surprisingly. The Hornets, Pistons, Hawks, Cavs, Warriors, and Bulls. Is that 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's 8 teams. I guess I can order them from like best to worst out of this trash tier. I would say, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, all of these teams are trash, so I'm not really going to focus on ordering them too much because they're not really the teams we're talking about, because they literally have no chance of winning a title this year. C tier, teams that are just lucky to be in the bubble. Definitely want to throw the Magic up there. Spurs. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah, Suns, too. Suns. Where are the Spurs? Spurs. Brooklyn Nets. They don't have Kyrie or KD. Kings. Yeah. Definitely have the Kings up there. Oh, Wizards for sure. Wizards for sure. And then any of these teams like Memphis. Memphis and Portland are interesting because I'm kind of looking at it from this perspective, since I'm a fan of a team that's a realistic NBA title contender, the Lakers. Shout out LA. I'm looking at it from the perspective of what team I definitely wouldn't want to see in the first round. And for that reason, I'm going to put Memphis at the front of C tier. They're a good team. Definitely a good young team that Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. have led. They're a young team. This would be most of their first time making the playoffs. And since I'm a Lakers fan, my team would face them in the first round because they're probably going to be an 8 seed if they do make the playoffs. I wouldn't really be afraid of the Grizzlies. I'm going to be honest. I think we would sweep them. And for that reason, I'm putting Portland in the B tier. Because think about it like this. Actually, hang on. Let me first break down each C tier team in terms of why I put them there. Memphis, I kind of already explained. Orlando, they don't have any star talent that I would really fear in the playoffs. The Suns, they're just, yeah, the Suns. The Spurs, their offense is kind of stagnant, and their defense is not good at all, which is surprising for a Greg Popovich type of team. Brooklyn, they don't have any star power, no Kyrie, no KD. The Kings, for some reason, they just really haven't been able to figure it out, and they're not making the playoffs. And the Wizards, John Wall is injured, and the team around Beal is pretty subpar, especially defensively. Yeah, that's why all those teams are in C tier. I think my mom is chopping onions. Oh my god. Eyes are watery as shit. Now, moving to B tier. I got B tier, the dangerous teams that could cause an upset in the first round. Got Portland up here. Definitely going to throw OKC up here. Indy up here. Utah up here. Dallas for sure up here. Oh, New Orleans. Yeah. Oh, let me order C tier. I forgot. So Memphis, Orlando. We'll put the Nets kind of right here. Spurs right here. Kings right here. And then the Suns at the back end. Yeah. Okay. So now for B tier, let me order them. Portland would kind of be at the tail end. Dallas would kind of be at the forefront. OKC. I'll put Utah in front of Indiana. Do I put Utah in front of the Thunder? I don't know. I can't really decide between Utah and the Thunder. But I think that's the order I want to go with. So I have Dallas Mavericks at the front of B tier because they have arguably the best player in this entire tier. In Luka Doncic, you can argue between Luka and Damian Lillard. At the end of the day, star power is what carries you in the NBA playoffs. Star power. And having a bona fide top 10 player in the entire league, an MVP candidate this year, that's really going to bolster your title chances in a year. And their offense is really dynamic. I hope you can't hear some young lady screaming outside my window right now.
They definitely can, Ryan.
But their offense is really dynamic. I think they were on a record-setting offensive rating pace this year. It was led by Luka and all the shooters that they surround him with. They got a lot of offense on that team, and if they catch fire in 1 or 2 games, that could really turn the tides of a playoff series. So that's why I have them as in the B tier, in front of the B tier, the dangerous teams that could cause an upset in the first or second round. OKC I have up here. They've really not shattered expectations, but surprised a lot of people. I need to have Miami up here. I'm gonna throw Miami up here too. I'm gonna put them behind OKC. I don't know. These 3 teams are really close for me. But I'll just leave it like this. Just know that these 3 teams are kind of on a level playing field. But we'll start with OKC, a team that's kind of exceeded expectations. Chris Paul, a player that's exceeded expectations, making an all-star game this year, proving that he's not completely washed up. Obviously, he's not the same Chris Paul we've seen in his prime, but he is still a very productive player. Yeah, the team, OKC, is just really good. And I think they were a 5 seed before suspension of the season. Yeah, they were a 5 seed. And that has a lot to do with just Chris Paul's leadership, honestly. And yeah, I wouldn't want to face them in the first round. So that's why I have them for the B tier. Miami, another team that's kind of exceeded expectations. I will admit, I wasn't high on Miami coming into this year, mainly because I did not see the emergence of Bam Adebayo like this. I did hear a lot of kind of buzz around Bam Adebayo. I heard some people picked him to win Most Improved Player before the year, and it's looking like that might be the case this year. But this season, from Jimmy Butler, kind of leading this Miami team to, I think, a 4 or 5 seed in the East. 4 seed in the East. Might hit 3 seed if they could go on a win streak or something. They're a pretty dangerous team, and it's their defense, really. They have a stifling defense between your 2 best players, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, which are 2 players that are some of the best players defensively at their positions. They just have a lot of hard-nosed players that really buy into the system, vibe with each other on the floor, and they have Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the NBA, really defensive-minded. Miami was already a good defense in the regular season. They'll probably step it up in the playoffs. That's kind of why I have them as a dangerous team in the postseason, and why I have them in the B tier. Utah, another solid team in the West. They have pretty good chemistry with each other. They play a lot with each other. Your core players, your Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Rudy Gobert, Royce O'Neal, Georges Niang, and then they've added some players like Jordan Clarkson, Bojan Bogdanovic, and obviously Mike Conley. Even though Mike Conley has been disappointing this year, I think he'll step it up in the playoffs like most veteran players do. They just, at the end of the day, they have a lot of talent on their team. They have pretty good chemistry. A lot of the players have good chemistry with one another. I mean, maybe that chemistry took a hit with Gobert's antics, but yeah, at the end of the day, you gotta respect talent. And yeah, Utah Jazz, B tier. Indiana, this is gonna come down to Victor Oladipo. He's kind of the X factor for this team now, not because he's an X factor type of player. It's because of his injury. If Victor Oladipo can be the Victor Oladipo that we saw that won Most Improved Player in 2017 to 2018, that was an All-Star in 2018 to 2019, and you just plop him on this team that's already been playing really well without him, trying to fight their way to a nice playoff seed without him, Indiana could be really dangerous. Like I said, they've been playing really well without him, and if VO can get to his prior form, they could be really dangerous in the playoffs. I think in the Eastern Conference, 3 through 6, there's a lot of teams that are kind of really close to each other. If you slot in a healthy, full-formed Victor Oladipo, Indy could be really dangerous this postseason. New Orleans, I kind of have them at the back end. I may put them behind Portland, I'm not sure. But I have them at the back end because of the games that we've seen them play with Zion Williamson towards the end of the suspended season. They looked really good, especially offensively. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Drew Holiday, and Derek Favors. They were playing really well together in that starting lineup. And that's a young, dynamic, exciting team that could really sneak up on somebody if they don't take them seriously. I think they could cause some noise in the playoffs if they were to make an 8 seed and play my Lakers. And then I already talked about Portland. They got Dame Dollar, one of the best players in the entire league. Actually, I didn't talk about Portland. Last year, this team made the Western Conference Finals. This fully healthy Portland Trailblazers team made the Western Conference Finals. And this year, it seems like Damian Lillard has taken another step in the regular season, playing without Yusuf Nurkic, Zach Collins, and Rodney Hood for most of the year. He's been fighting to keep this team in playoff contention for that 8 seed, and with this play-in tournament, they probably will sneak in to that 8 seed because you're bringing in a healthy Yusuf Nurkic and Zach Collins, which I think can be really game-changing players, kind of X-factor players, especially Zach Collins, for this Portland Trailblazers team. Alright, now we move to A tier, kind of the teams that I think could realistically sneak into the NBA Finals, cause an upset in the conference finals. I'm going to put Toronto there, Denver, Philly, Houston, and Boston. Oh no, not S tier. And Boston. And then if I were to order them, Philly would be at the end. Boston would be in front of Houston. I think Boston would also be in front of Denver. And I'm going to have the defending champions in the front of A tier. Okay. So let's... Can somebody please turn off their car alarm? Thank you. So at the front of A tier, I have the defending NBA champions, Toronto Raptors. Now this year, they were on pace to have roughly the same record that they had last year of their championship year with Kawhi Leonard. And this year, Kawhi Leonard departed, and it seems like they haven't lost the beat. That could be attributed to the emergence of Pascal Siakam really turning into a star, an all-star starter before our very eyes. Kyle Lowry being that consistent point guard that will give you like 19 points a game, 8 assists, great defense, a lot of hustle plays, a lot of stuff that you won't see on the box score. Fred VanVleet has emerged into his newfound role. And then your veterans on the team, your Marc Gasols, your Serge Ibaka's that were really vital to the championship run last year. They haven't skipped a beat this year. OG Anunoby has been thrusted into that starting small forward role because of the departure of Kawhi Leonard, and he's really thrived, turning into a 3-and-D type of player. Norman Powell, he really came on the scene at the end of the suspended year. His scoring, particularly off the bench, and it's really impressive because this Toronto team has dealt with injuries the entire year. If it wasn't Kyle Lowry, it was Pascal Siakam. If it wasn't Pascal Siakam, it might have been Kyle Lowry again. Marc Gasol has been injured the entire year. I think Norman Powell is dealing with some injuries. A lot of their star players, their core players, were injured throughout the entire year, but they were able to weather the storm, and I gotta reward them by putting them in the A tier. The only reason I don't have them in the S tier is they don't really have that Kawhi Leonard player that they had last year. Next on A tier, I have the Boston Celtics. Boston is kind of similar to Toronto in terms of their starting lineup has a lot of options scoring the ball, like Toronto. They got Kemba Walker, who last year in Charlotte was dropping like 25 a game. This year, scoring is down to like 20, but it's expected going on to a Boston team with a lot of scoring options. Gordon Hayward seems to be back to Utah Jazz Gordon Hayward. He's really provided efficient offense for this team. Jaylen Brown has really improved this year as a kind of tertiary shot creator for this team. He's creating a lot of offense for himself. He's getting about 20 points per game, and you know he's giving it to you on the defensive side of the ball. It was an all-star debate between him and his teammate Jason Tatum, who, between those two, it was kind of an honest debate you could have in the beginning of the year, but towards the end of the all-star break and then after the all-star break, you could clearly see that Jason Tatum was the all-star on this team, and he became the kind of number one guy who you wanted on the Celtics team to have the ball in their hands and create a shot for you. And he's been a dog on the defensive side of the ball. And then off the bench, who sometimes starts, you have Marcus Smart, who is just a dog defensively, and he provides a lot of playmaking for you. I think this year he's averaging like 5 or 6 assists. I think he's leading this Boston Celtics team in assists. And they have a coach of Brad Stevens, who's one of the best coaches in the league and one of the youngest coaches in the league. So he's only going to get better with more playoff experience. Then we move on to Denver. For the past 2 years, they've really been a regular season team, including this year. We got to see if they can bring it in the playoffs this year. I mean, I don't really think that's a fair categorization of them being a regular season team, because last year that was their first year making the playoffs in a minute, and they only lost to a Portland Trailblazers team in 7 games. And they almost made the Western Conference Finals. They've done really well in the regular season again this year. I think they have a 3 seed in the West, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 3 seed in the West. They're not too far behind the Clippers for a 2 seed. And they're more experienced this year. Jokic, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris. Those young guys that were a part of the playoff run last year, they're a year more experienced. And then you have the emergence of Michael Porter Jr. this year. He's going to be a vital part of this team. And you have Bol, who Michael Porter Jr. is the X factor for this team, but Bol is the biggest question mark, because we saw what he could do in that scrimmage. I think he's going to provide a lot of flexibility lineups wise for this team. That you saw that they experimented with that all above 6'8" lineup. They're going to have a lot of lineups that they can play with, and they're going to provide a lot of different looks that none of these other bubble teams have really seen from the Nuggets. And they have Nikola Jokic, one of my favorite players to watch. He's slim now. I think he's going to ball out in the playoffs again, like he did last year. So Houston Rockets, they have the high-end talent. James Harden, perennial MVP candidate. Russell Westbrook, been an MVP in the past. We know about Russell Westbrook. But at the end of the day, what really makes them a sneaky team to make the NBA Finals is their shooting and their play style. They're going to get up and down. Mike D'Antoni said it. They're not going to try to defend you. They're going to try and win. Obviously they're going to try to defend you, but they're going to win by outscoring you. It's really going to be a shootout. They're going to try to make whatever game they play a shootout, in terms of they just want it to be a high-scoring game, and at the end of the day, they're going to trust their guns over the opposing team's guns. They're going to shoot, and shoot some more. They're going to ISO with Harden, take as many threes as possible. They're going to space the floor for Russell Westbrook to get to the rim. They're going to take the efficient shots on offense and trust their offense to beat the other team's offense. And then we have Philly. Philly is a team that's really struggled this year in the regular season, mainly trying to find a fit together, trying to find a starting lineup that will work together. I have them in the A tier because of their talent. Again, their high-end talent. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, Al Horford off the bench now. They have a lot of talent on this Philly team. They have young, emerging rookies / just young players in Matisse Thybulle and Furkan Korkmaz. and Shake Milton, who's really come on the scene in recent games, or in games before the suspended season, and now he's a part of the starting lineup. There's a lot of talent on this Philly team. I think if they can figure it out, they could definitely make the finals. And the reason why I have them at the tail end of the A tier is because of the word if they can figure it out, which is a big if. But yeah, they're going to be a dangerous team, and I would not be surprised. All 5 of these teams are in the A tier because I wouldn't be surprised if I saw either of them or any of them in the finals. So without further ado, let's get to the S tier. I'm going to set my bias aside and put the Bucks in the front of the S tier. And then behind them I'll put the Lakers, and then behind them put the Clippers. So the Bucks, they have the best regular season player in the entire league, arguably the best player in the entire league, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And they have kind of the perfect team around him. They have a go-to secondary option in Chris Middleton, who is efficient as hell. He was on pace for 50, 40, 90 this year. He might have tailed off of field goal percentage, but he was on pace for 50, 40, 90. He's really come on the scene these past 2 years, proving that he's more than just an average second hand to Giannis, and he's actually more than that. He's a really good second option for a team. He can create for himself, and he can space the floor, and he's great on the defensive side of the ball. And then you have Giannis, like I said, MVP candidate, probably will win MVP this year. He was the best regular season player this year. Giannis is a player who very well may be the best offensive and defensive player in the entire league. So, yeah, the Bucks have him on their team. Obviously, they're going to be in the S tier. But why the Bucks have had so much success is because of the team that they've built around Giannis. They've taken the floor spacing approach that works with your star players that can pass the ball. It works with your LeBron James, your James Harden players. You put space around them, and you give them an island to work on, and if one of the opposing players invades that island, they find the open man. And Giannis is proving time and time again that he can find that open man, and if nobody invades the island, he's going to make the lone defender play. So yeah, let's talk about that supporting cast. Brook Lopez at the center position, your ideal center that you want to have next to Giannis. Even though he's not shooting the 3 as well as he has shot it last year, he is still a lethal threat from downtown, and you don't want to leave him open. Wesley Matthews, 3-and-D player his entire year. That's continued this year. Eric Bledsoe, X factor for this team. Regular season, another good, solid regular season from Eric Bledsoe on this Bucks team. Good playmaking, good tertiary shot creation, good enough 3-ball in the regular season, and you know Eric Bledsoe is a dog on the defensive side of the ball. It comes down to the playoffs. He's repeatedly come up short in the playoffs. Hopefully for his sake and for the Bucks' sake, that trend does not repeat this year. And then you have the bench unit, Dante DiVincenzo. He's really emerged this year. He's going to be something in this league. Kyle Korver, marksman. You know Kyle Korver. Ersan Ilyasova, 3-and-D type of power forward. Takes a lot of charges, does a lot of the little things. And then Robin Lopez, back to the basket center, who's really just not going to post up anymore because you don't need him posting up on this Milwaukee team. He's going to provide just a presence down low, banging around, getting boards, and from time to time he'll hit a corner 3. Oh, I didn't even talk about George Hill. Another efficient bench player. He really emerged in the playoffs last year. He was playing better than Bledsoe. Yeah, this Bucks team is nice all around. Honestly, yeah, in my eyes, they're the favorites to win the championship this year, putting aside my Lakers bias. Now let's talk about the Lakers, my team. I obviously got Bron, arguably the best player in the league, steps up his play on the defensive side of the ball, even though he's played really well on the defensive side of the ball this year. He has arguably the best, in terms of talent level, player that he's ever played with in Anthony Davis. And similar to Giannis, they've surrounded him with 3-and-D players. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Danny Green, Caruso. They had Avery Bradley, but he's not going to be in the bubble. And then your center, two-headed monster of JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, has really played well for this Lakers team. They're one of the best offenses in the league, one of the best defenses in the league, and in my opinion, even though they have so much offensive firepower just between LeBron and AD, it's their defense that really bolsters them, that's really bolstered them this season, because they have two bigs. They have Anthony Davis, arguably a defensive player of the year. You have two rim protectors in Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, and then you have not dogs, but really good perimeter defenders in KCP, Alex Caruso, Avery Bradley at one point, and Danny Green, who has established himself as a playoff performer, hitting clutch shots for your team and providing it on the defensive side of the ball. And then you have Kyle Kuzma, who is the X factor for this team. He needs to be that third scoring option for this Lakers team when AD or LeBron might have an off night. If Kyle Kuzma can get you an efficient 17 that game, that's a win for the Lakers. And then you have the Clippers, my crosstown rival. Out of this S tier, the Clippers have the most offensive options in terms of shot creation. They have the two-headed monster on the wing in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and they have the bench mob led by Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. Two players off the bench that can get you upwards of 17 points per game. They have Kawhi and PG, who I think, or Kawhi Leonard, Kawhi Leonard, he is the MVP caliber player if he were able to play all 82 games. And then Paul George has really struggled in the regular season, but I have a feeling he'll kick it up a notch in the playoffs. And they're both dogs on the defensive side of the ball. Then you have Patrick Beverley, 3-and-D point guard, gonna provide antics, energy, tough-nosed defense, and if his shot is on. That's his guy. That's really gonna be a source of offense, hitting a corner three ball. And then you have kind of support players like Landry Shamet, Marcus Morris, Ivinka Zubac, who really played well this year. Yeah, this Clippers team is good. They're deep. They got a lot of depth. Their weakness is really playmaking, like having a true playmaker. They don't really have that. Patrick Beverley is not known for his playmaking ability. Lou Williams, score first guard. He's just an off guard in a point guard's body. PG and Kawhi Leonard are wings, and Kawhi Leonard's never really had that LeBron level of playmaking on the wing position, though he has taken an increase in his playmaking ability this year. The Clippers are a scary team, but we'll see if they can really gel together. A lot of times this year, it seemed like they just have a lot of talent on the floor and they're just not really cohesive. But at the end of the day, they have some of the most firepower in the entire league. And they have kind of a go-to lineup at the end of games where you could have your 5 best players on the floor. Pat Bev, Lou Will, PG, Kawhi, and Montrezl Harrell. We'll see if that lineup is able to match up against these two teams, the Bucks and the Lakers, because they're two teams that are big. And if you have Montrezl Harrell and Kawhi Leonard as your power forward and center duo, I think they would kind of get terrorized inside. But for the fact that the Clippers have so much shot creation capability and perimeter defense and high-end talent in the starting lineup and off the bench, that bolsters them to an S-tier team.
That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and if you're new here, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Anyways, like I was saying, thanks for watching. It's been your boy IB. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.